So 2011 saw the return of the Scream franchise after over a decade of toiling in development hell. In April 2011, Scream 4 was released. And as the movie said, new decade, new rules. But as I say, mixed results. What's up, everybody? Nick here, and we are here today to discuss Scream 4. This is the obviously fourth film in the Scream franchise and what was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy. This came out in 2011. They had it mapped out for a 4, 5, and a 6. Wes Craven was going to be back, Kevin Williamson, the whole gang. It was going to be the whole thing over again. They were going to do a new trilogy. But Scream 4, it didn't really hit it off with critics or fans alike. It was the lowest grossing of the Scream franchise. It didn't even break 100 million worldwide. Part of that was bad marketing, releasing it at a really bad time. And also, I feel like it just came out at the wrong time. Horror wasn't really hot then, at that point in time, and this was trying to be like a requel, but requels weren't really a thing yet. Now, as we'll see 10 years later with Scream 5, that was the perfect time to do it. But Scream 4, almost like another one of Wes Craven's movies, New Nightmare, might have been a little ahead of its time. Scream 4, I've got to say from the onset, is definitely my least favorite in the Scream series. After going through and rewatching these movies leading up to Scream 6, I feel confident in saying that Scream 4 is my least favorite. However, you've all heard me say multiple times that I don't dislike any of these movies. I think they're at worst all solid. And this would be the worst. I'd still give this like 3 out of 5 stars because it is very rewatchable. But there's a lot of issues with this movie. I'm not one to harp on the negatives, so I will start off with the positives. What I like about Scream 4. And then I'll talk about the things that I don't necessarily like or that I'm mixed on. And then that'll really be the video. First off, with Scream 4, I love the original cast. The original cast being back. There is yet to be a movie in this series where the original trio is here, and I don't think that they're good. I think that they're all great. I also think this is like their peak, physically and acting-wise. I think all three of them are incredibly strong in this movie. And that continued with Scream 5, but I really like the trio in this movie. I really like the story arc they have for Sydney. Sydney she's written a book, she's out on a book tour, and she's kind of taken her life back. It's no longer this, I'm the victim, and I need to run, and I need to hide, and I need to live in anonymity. No, she's like, I'm Sydney Prescott, I made it through this shit, and I'm going to help other people, and I'm going to share my story. And I think that that's really, really cool. I love the kills in this movie. There's some good gore in this movie. Too often in some of the Scream movies, we feel like they play it just a little bit too safe, that these kills are a little too tame. And part of that is a complaint people have with this series is the use of the buck knife and how that's pretty much all Ghostface ever uses. That's fine because I think it's effective. But Scream 4 ups the ante in a lot of ways. We get a stab to the forehead. We get a gutting, which I really wish we would have gotten to see. Thank you, MPAA. There's a lot of really good gore in this movie. Ghostface, in general in this movie, when the mask is on, is fantastic. Now, obviously, we'll get to the reveal and the motivations and everything like that, but I love some of the lines. Some of the most quotable Ghostface lines come from this movie. I absolutely love Ghostface in this movie. When it is Ghostface out on the prowl or on the phone, especially talking to Sydney, it's mean, there's so much anger behind it. I freaking love that. I also love the soundtrack to this movie. I love the score. I love the sound design as a whole. I think the sound design is super strong in this movie. I really like the whole stab marathon setting out at that barn and that farm. I thought that was super cool. A lot of the set pieces in this movie are really cool. We can talk about the alternate ending and the hospital sequence, but I like a lot of these set pieces, and one of them being my favorite being the party, the stab marathon, the stabathon, I think is what it's called. I thought that was really, really cool. Felt like we got to see a little bit more Woodsboro. I also really, really liked Kirby. Hayden Panettiere as Kirby is honestly the best character this franchise has introduced since the original trio. And I mean that. And I will hold to that fact. I believe that she was the Randy that they still to this day have been trying to replace Randy with. You know, a lot of people like Mindy in Scream 5. There were characters in Scream 3. You know, there's obviously we're going into Scream 6 with Kirby, so hopefully she gets a pretty prominent role. But they killed Randy way too soon, and bringing her into the fold in Scream 4, she was not only a welcome addition, she's one of the best people in this movie. She's the perfect mix of smart, funny, badass. Like, I absolutely love Kirby. I cannot wait to see her back. Again, best character this franchise has introduced in 20 years, and I can't wait to see her back. But with Scream 4, there's a lot of mixed. Mixed for me is what they're commenting on. See, Scream 4 came out at a weird time. 2011, it wasn't really the height of the remake craze anymore. There was a span in the early 2000s to mid 2000s where remakes were really happening. And then it kind of tailed off for a little bit until we got a second wave of it. But Scream 4 was a requel, a legacy sequel, commenting on remakes. Whereas you had Scream commenting on horror movies, Scream 2 commenting on sequels, and Scream 3 commenting on trilogies. Then we get to Scream 4 and it's commenting on remakes. But it's not a remake, so it didn't really work well. And obviously we'll talk about Scream 5 when we get there, but Scream 5 does a lot better because it's a requel commenting on requels, which is perfect. Scream 4, so it's mixed. I like the commentary and the criticisms of remakes and the tropes and whatnot, but I just don't think it was the right time for that, and I don't think that this movie, being a legacy sequel, was the right place for that. Another mixed thing I have about this movie is the ending. Now, obviously, we know that initially the movie was supposed to end with Jill lying there and us thinking that she was going to get away with it, but that couldn't fly. We had to make sure that Sydney was alive. We had to, there had to be finality, basically. I don't know whose call that was for the finality, but I like the fact that there is finality. I don't know how I feel about the final sequence. I like the set piece in the hospital. I think that's cool. I like the whole, them finding out by her saying, oh, we'll have matching wounds or matching scars. And that sends off a trigger in Gail's brain and Dewey's brain, like, how the hell did she know? I really like that. What I don't like about it, look, Emma Roberts is annoying in this movie in a lot of points, and she is in this sequence. I that's just my opinion. I know that a lot of people love her, and I'll get to more about her and the killer reveal in a minute. So I'm not saying I'm right. I feel like, especially in this sequence, it's kind of played out. It's like, oh my God, like, seriously? And I will give them credit. They do comment on that. Like, this movie was supposed to end at the house. Like, so they're self-aware. But that says something when even the writers are aware, okay, maybe we're dragging this out a little bit too much. And they definitely were. I love Sydney's clear line and, the defibrillators to the head. So there's things I like about it. There's things I don't. Also, one of the most glaring things is, seriously, there's gunshots, screaming. Nobody is aware. Like, nobody comes to check. Not a nurse, not a doctor, not a security guard. Nothing. It's just a free-for-all in this hospital. That's always bothered me. So I don't consider the ending a negative. I consider it a mixed portion for me because there's stuff about it I like and there's stuff about it I don't like. So I walk away going, meh, rather than like, oh, that sucked. So again, mixed. But now let's get into the negatives. Okay, Jesus Christ. Who didn't wipe off the lens? Like, seriously. And I know Wes Craven has gone on record saying that the aesthetic of this movie was intentional. Why? It looks horrible. Watching this movie in these daylight sequences, it will hurt your eyes. Seriously. Like, there are moments where it is just like, man, that's bright, that's shimmery, that's blurry. It's overbearing at times. And to some people, that might be a minor complaint. But for an hour and 45-minute movie, and, half of the movie, the background or the foreground looking like that is pretty freaking distracting. It also dates the movie. I think Wes Craven said he did that because he didn't want the film to look dated, 20 years from now. No, it dates the shit out of the movie. It was the opposite result of what he wanted. The opening. Look, the opening sequence, it is the weakest in the series. I will give them credit for trying to play up the whole, these franchises go on sequel after sequel and they get dumber and dumber and more unrealistic and it's like a movie within a movie. Cool idea. But the final portion of that, the actual people that die, like Jenny and Marnie, I think their names are, wow. Just no suspense. It's completely uninteresting. It is so like by the numbers. And I have issues with Scream 2's opening, but I actually like looking back on it. They tried something new. Scream 3 tried something new. Scream tried something new while also keeping a lot of the old. There was a style to it. Scream 4, I guess, like I said, they did try something new, but it just doesn't land. It's just very bland. There's nothing that really grabs me about it. But again, just my opinion. I'm not claiming that is the case. It's just, this is my viewing experience, and that's how I feel about it. The middle portion to this movie, there's a lot of meandering about Woodsboro and he said, she said, and red herrings, and they're obvious red herrings. Trevor is an obvious red herring. Deputy Hicks is an obvious red herring. Even from the first time I saw this movie, I knew, because you were putting a spotlight on certain characters, they are not the killer. And it gets to a point, you're in the middle of this movie, you start to lose interest a little bit. I feel like, as much as I like a lot of the kills in this movie, I feel like there needed to be more. I feel like the body count needed to be higher, or at least we needed to have some air of suspense and tension throughout. And I just feel like the middle of this movie, there isn't a lot there. Again, I quite enjoy the third act. Once they get to the farm party, it's pretty enjoyable from that point forward. But this movie takes a while to grab me. And every other Scream movie is the literal opposite. They grab you from the beginning, and I feel like Scream 4 starts and lets you know from the beginning it's not going to grab you that same way. It's not going to have that same effect. And I feel like that is indicative of the experience you're going to have for the rest of the movie. But the final negative, and the one thing about this movie that's still, to this day, and before you guys, come at me, and I want to hear what you love about this movie. I do. Because I will never claim that my opinion is fact. No. But I just do not care for the killer reveal at all. First of all, let's just get Charlie out of the way. I don't even know. I mean, what a pansy. No motive there really whatsoever. He is so forgettable. He's so weak and frail and just gone like that. Just completely and totally useless. Completely unmemorable and useless. And I think most people agree with that. And I like Rory Culkin, but as the killer, no thank you. And Jill. I'll go on record right now and say I like Emma Roberts, especially in American Horror Story. I think she's a good actress. And I don't even think she's bad in this movie, per se. There's parts where I think she's bad, and I mentioned the ending. I don't like her performance in the ending, but I don't think she's necessarily bad in this movie. But the reveal it's a mixed bag, because I hate the reveal of it being her. I hate her motivation. I think it's stupid. It is such a cop-out. Oh, poor me. My cousin had to go through 3 separate mass murders where she was at the center of all of it. Oh, and her mom was raped and murdered, and she has been the victim and been put in harm's way for most of her teenage and adult life. God, I want to be like you. What? You need to get your head checked. You want that? Now, again, maybe that's the point. She is unstable. But come on. So because of that, you need to kill her to get that for yourself? And in doing that, you want to kill literally all of your friends, your mother, your boyfriend, to get revenge on your cousin you hardly know? Come on. The movie pretty much paints it, very clearly that she hardly even knows her anyway. So how disaffected can you be by her life? And why would you even want that life? And why would it lead you to kill literally everyone you love? Again, if your retort is she is psychotic, okay, sure, but still. I mean, we have issues all the time with these Scream movies when we get a killer reveal and we're like, no way this person was committing these acts. Amber in Scream 5, for example. Jill's the same way. When you get a look at Jill, when she comes around the corner and stabs Sydney in the Ghostface getup before she pulls the mask off, it looks like a child. It literally looks like a little kid. And you're like, that was not you this entire movie. And it's not like Rory Culkin's much bigger than her. So, look, I think the motivation and the reveal, I just don't like it. Now, having said that, to you Jill stands, I will throw you a bone here. I really, really, really dig her self-mutilation. I think that that is dedication. I think Emma Roberts is great in that aspect. She is fantastic in those scenes where she's beating the shit out of herself. She makes it look so believable that she was victimized too and she's barely clinging to life. That stuff is good. But the first part of the third act, no thank you. Not a fan. So how do I walk away from this movie? I mean, I walk away from this movie saying it's better than average. You know, like, you guys might have heard some of my ranting there when I was talking about my negatives and go like, oh God, you really don't like this movie. I thought you said you like all the Scream movies. I do. I would still give this one 3 stars. I would. I don't think this movie's bad. I just think that this movie came out at a time that wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right movie to be commenting on certain things. And, you know, I just don't think it's aged as well. I don't think that it holds up to some of the other movies. It's not as clever. It's not as funny. It's not as suspenseful. It's not as interesting. It's not as thought-provoking. And the killer reveals and their motivations are nowhere near as memorable. Nowhere near as memorable, in my opinion. But again, that's my opinion. I'm sure some of you guys are typing up comments right now. I love Scream 4. You're an idiot. I'm a fan. Like, I'm a fan. 3 out of 5 stars. That's better than a passing grade. So I'm a fan. But I like all the other movies in the series better. And I feel like Scream 4 is that weird one that kind of sticks out. You know, you've got 1 through 3, and we're going to have 5 through 7. You know, these separate trilogies. And 4 is going to be like that redheaded stepchild in the middle that a lot of people are going to be in love with, and they're going to love for years, and they're going to sing its praises. And you know what? Honestly, good. I'm happy about that. Every franchise has those movies that aren't as popular as the other ones that always find their fan base. And those fans will always sing its praises and never back down. And I feel like this series, just like every other series, needs that. So I implore you guys to do that. So, I mean, honestly, don't take this as me being negative. Scream 4 is pretty decent. It's all right, you know, but it's not great. It's definitely not fantastic. It's not on the level of the other movies, even Scream 3. And this is somebody that used to be down on Scream 3, but after watching it a few times over the years, I'm like, no, I really like this movie. But again, 3 and 4, those are the 2 that people put, you know, at the end of their rankings. So I feel like I won't catch too much shit for this, but I might. Whatever. Comes with the territory. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like on this video if you haven't already. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of Scream 4. And yeah, we're 2 weeks away from Scream 6. I'm very excited. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'm going to go get ready for the Scream 5 one because that one will be a little more positive. So this is Nick of the Lost River Drive-In, and I am pulling out.